What's going on, everybody? This is the Block Trade Backer, bringing you the latest cryptocurrency news and analysis. What a busy morning we have had in the cryptocurrency market, which started off as setting another new peak over here above the FTX collapse, has then since turned itself over as the Department of Justice issued a notice this morning that they were going to be making an announcement of a major cryptocurrency enforcement action that they were going to be doing. And they would be live streaming it. Of course, the market said, oh boy, what could this possibly be? Lots of speculation, lots of worry. Was it going to be Digital Currency Group, Binance, Genesis, Celsius? What was it going to be? And it turns out it is an exchange called Bits Lotto. Now, I have never heard of Bits Lotto before, based on what I'm seeing out there from a lot of the other big names within the crypto world. Nobody has really heard of Bits Lotto before. Okay, if they took down a bad actor, so be it. But it turns out to really kind of be a nothing burger. It's really an exchange that nobody uses, or maybe a select few of criminals do. Otherwise, it's nothing of importance to really the whole crypto market when it comes to a big player in the market. Never heard of them. They're not even listed over there on CoinMarketCap. So the interesting thing about it all is that they made the announcement, a couple hours ago. And then as they made the announcement, the prices of crypto did turn over relatively quickly. We saw that new high get put in there this morning during the markets in the morning segment. And then we saw the announcement come out, prices pulled down, and we went through and took out the stop losses of the last 3 days. So we have all these higher lows that are in place right there. Every single one of them have been taken out for 3 days. So we have some technical damage that was done right in there from that movement. I would assume that is a lot of long liquidation that has happened right in there. So we've spent the last 5 days really talking about price action in here, and still we still are stuck in this range even after this happens. That the most typical thing after you have this massive short liquidation is that it just pulls back quickly. And still 5 days later, we're still holding it up. Now we're trying to get some type of catalyst attempting to come in to try to knock the price down, but still it won't move its way back down. Maybe that was the catalyst trigger to get it to go, but still it didn't sustain itself. And the exchange they're going after, nobody has ever heard of this thing before. Incredibly odd for such a random announcement to come out on something that is just not even listed over here. So really nothing has changed over here on the price chart, except that anybody who has been buying and then placing stop losses for higher lows, all of those stop losses have now been triggered. Still, I'm in the camp of either one. I'm definitely looking for us to go back up to the top of the range, but I've showed all the examples in there. You can head down here first too, and I think that's totally possible. And for me to sit here and say, I feel there is a 65% chance that this happens and then we go to the top, and that there's a 35% chance that we just go straight to the top without doing that. Or to say there's a 14% chance that this, I couldn't even put a percentage number on it of what I wanted. I just know how they usually play. This is what they usually do. And then we go to the top of the range. That's the usual behavior. But what's unusual is to stay there for 5 days after the short liquidation. So the biggest short liquidation since July of 2021, a year and a half, we'd make the biggest short liquidation. Somehow prices still are able to hold. And it's now taking a catalyst, a surprise catalyst of an exchange to finally get prices moving. But still, they're holding up okay. So we're still going to have to wait on that one. And that's been my thought since January 13. Now that we've gotten the move and the shorts have been liquidated, a pullback in Bitcoin seems in order. If it wants to keep going, by all means, go for it. However, we got the move, the shorts got liquidated, and I'd speculate exhaustion has set in. We've definitely seen the exhaustion set in. The price has stalled in here, but it's just really unusual to stay there for this long. And it's just interesting that we're having to get like surprise catalysts to try to get that price to really move down. So still, the thoughts are the normal thing to happen is to pull back down to here, but it's very abnormal that we've still been able to hold so well after that short squeeze. So I'm definitely just an observer of what's going on right here because it's acting a little funky. But we do also have something happening in broader markets that could also lead to that happening as well, as to see that pullback actually happen. We spent plenty of time talking about the Dow Jones Industrial Average. Yesterday, we ended up having a close of negative 397 points, I believe. Maybe it was 392. As we started this morning, we started off green in the markets in the morning segment. We saw the DXY plunging. We saw the Dow opening up relatively flat. We saw most of the market green. Remember, tech, everything was green in the morning, and then now everything has flipped over red at the same time. When we've talked about this over here on the Dow Jones Industrial Average, even for those who want to believe in the bull case that the Dow can go on and hit one new high, which has always been an element for Bitcoin for new all-time highs. Even in that circumstance right in there, likely to see a pullback happening here in the Dow Jones Industrial Average before you could actually end up get that move to end up happening. So does it seem possible as well these last 2 days now that we're getting a second day in a row? Yesterday, was it just a fluke? 390 points? Boom, we're 479 points now this morning. Here we are. We're only a few hours after the opening bell. This adds confluence for Bitcoin to get that test to head back down in here. If after a month, it's finally going to get it. Problem is, we're all a little kind of beat up and confused right there because after the FTX collapse, what ended up happening? We saw crypto break from the stock market. A very weird phenomenon. But to assume it returns, to assume it does correlate with the stock market again, well, there you go. You get a big sell-off to take you down there. That'd make logical sense to see that pull back down into that 18.3 zone for Bitcoin. But again, these are one of those difficult moments because we go back and we say, what has it been like for the last 2 months? Well, it's been really boring, but the picture's been really clear, right? The picture's been really clear. We're obviously working on a very common behavior that eventually does all these exact things. And then once we start shooting up here, it's breakout time, it's go time. We followed that for 2 months, we nailed it. Then, even at the end, speculating to see a plus $2,500 daily candle that will break from this range and leave bears in disbelief, shooting us way back up in here. We did get all of that. Very clear for several months. This is not so much. This is where multiple things can happen, and it's not as clean as what we've been within. The common thing is to get back in there and then go. The only reason I'm not sitting here being like with 100% saying, yeah, man, that's what we do because that's what we always do, is just because it's held up so well for so long. It's very bizarre that it's held up so long. So I don't like being this guy of being like, up or down, baby. That's it. See, I told you. The only reason I have to be like that is because my expectations would have been, we would have come down really fast. That's what I thought. And it hasn't. It's held somehow. So it's still just a head scratcher until finally something happens. But again, I'm unapologetically bullish on the cryptocurrency market right now, as I do believe that was the final phase of spring and accumulation down in there, which I accumulated the whole time, and that we are in the path of working our way out of there. Thing is just how we're going to get our way out of here before we step out and go on to another level. But I do believe that's where we're at. That's the way I'm operating. That's the same spring we see over here in the Ethereum price chart and in the altcoin market as well. The question is just, back testing, sign of strength. How's this going to play out for a continuation on the moves up? The only thing that would start to get me to be like, oh my goodness, something else is happening here, is if you saw something with like the altcoin market pull back in here and we really take out these price levels in here, and we're suddenly back down here at the lows again. That's where I would start being like, oh boy, what is going on here? That doesn't look good. But I just don't think that's what's in the cards here. So we're just kind of in a weird moment right now, guys, and we kind of got to wait to get through this part. And this random Department of Justice thing happening today, which has already, like, I'm going and looking at Twitter, it's just triggered memes all over the place. People are just like, what is Bitslotto? Absolutely nobody knows what this is. Even the general counsel of Ripple says, I also heard about Bitslotto for the first time today. This thing has just kind of thrown a weird curveball into today, and it's kind of messed with my flow a little bit. But finally, there is a little bit of price action here. I think what we're just going to have to wait and see is there going to be some follow through with this, or is it still just going to stall? And so we just kind of got to get through this moment before we have something to talk about, or else it really is just kind of the same thing. It's just saying, hey, we're sitting here. What are you going to do, Bitcoin? Are you going back to touch the support from the breakout level? Or are we going to go ahead and shift our way up? If we shift our way up, then we have a whole lot more to talk about. And if we shift our way down here, we got a whole lot more to talk about. And I can just like officially become like just constantly spilling out, surge, imminent breakout, prices going to moon soon kind of stuff. But right here, I am just stuck in kind of a limbo moment while we're right in here. And over the last week, really just kind of been trying to present that case that after you get a breakout like that, the most common thing is to come back down here and touch this, especially after you have such a large short liquidation. Problem is, it's just held up here so well on its own. And then just the random curveball of the Department of Justice coming out here today with VOLATILITY. And while it does feel like Groundhog Day for the last couple of days, still just waiting for which one it's going to end up doing. And I would suspect we're going to get an answer soon, and then we can move on from this. But until then, it's just where we're at. This morning, intriguing. We're poking a little bit higher than just weird Department of Justice morning. And then that triggered all the stop losses. But yet at the same time, still right in the middle of that range, right in the absolute middle. So we'll check in on it again tomorrow. We'll get a refresher and see what's going on with markets in the morning, tomorrow morning, trying to do those 15 minutes before the market opens. Otherwise, today's been so bizarre. I almost thought about not even putting out a video because it's just been real weird on how to interpret all of this stuff happening with the Department of Justice. But I figured we have to talk about it. It's just bizarre. Maybe it'll make more sense tomorrow. I mean, I'm all for cracking down on crime. All about it. I wish we could have gotten stuff like FTX ahead of time, right? But I just don't think any of us have heard of Bitslotto before. And so it's bizarre to me, and I'm having a hard time wrapping my head around it. So on that note, I'm gonna go exercise. I think that's what I'm gonna go do and refresh my brain and say, what the heck happened today? I'll catch you guys tomorrow morning. I'm gonna have to debate on whether I'm gonna put out secondary videos throughout the day until we at least get through this range, because I do find that as I'm trying to make these videos, I'm very stuck in my head on this range needs to break. If this range doesn't break, then we just have the same thing to say. So I'm going to ponder that into exercise and meditate on that today on what we're going to, how to handle that. Otherwise, I will catch you when the market's open and we'll take a look at everything live in the morning tomorrow morning. But all right, on that note, that's going to be it for this one today, guys. Thank you so much for watching. If you could, please like this video and give it a thumbs up. If you're new to the channel, please subscribe and hit the notification bell so you can be notified of when I create new content and when I go live. As always, this is not investment advice and I am not a financial advisor. But if you ever need a pick-me-up or a little bit of reassurance, just remember that the blockchain backers got your back. Have a good one.